Greetings and salutations, world. I am the Bearded Con Man, and welcome to my spoiler-free review of John Wick Chapter 2. Let's get into it. So in case you didn't know, John Wick Chapter 2 is the sequel to the sleeper hit, as people like to call it, John Wick, and what a wild ride it was. It reinvigorated the action genre. It created these cool stylized action fights. It didn't suffer from what I like to call camera cut crazy, where the action scenes are so caught, like there's, and what I mean by that they're so caught up with using multiple shots within split seconds of each other to create just one action scene. Perfect example would be if you've ever seen Taken 3, which if you haven't, there's a scene where Liam Neeson is running to jump over a fence, and there's literally 14 cuts within, I want to say, 3 to 5 seconds. It's just very dizzying, very confusing, and it seems like a lot of movies to date suffer from that in action scenes, where it's just like, say for example, I'll demonstrate. Just say, I'm getting up from the chair, then all of a sudden I'm over here, and then all of a sudden I'm over here again. Something like that. It's very confusing, right? It's like, what is happening, what's going on, and why are we all of a sudden cutting to all these different angles for the same action? It's kind of stupid, if you want me to be completely honest with you. So in John Wick, one of the strongest aspects of that film was its action scenes and how organic and real they felt. It would be continuous shots. It actually would be Keanu Reeves, who is, in my opinion, one of the absolute best trained action stars in the game. And you could tell, I mean, he's doing all this insane stuff, and then when you freeze frame, like, if you look really closely, it's actually Keanu Reeves doing these stunts, and it's amazing. He does everything from, these awesome martial arts techniques to disarming dudes, to also what we've come to know as gun fu, where he uses his gun and incorporates it with his fighting. He's also a master of the headshot, which I love. It's just everything about that film is just awesome. I mean, it's funny when it needs to be. It's, darkly comedic when it needs to be. It's, just, you felt the mythos. When they say that, this nobody is John Wick, and then they go into it and they start telling stories about him, you actually feel the dread that his foes are currently feeling. So I love that film so much, and I was lucky enough, fun fact, I was lucky enough to go see the film before it came out. Part of this, honestly, it was a 1 in a million chance, and it so happened that a movie that I really wanted to see was John Wick, and I was blown away by it. I love it so much. So one thing I was worried about with Chapter 2 is the same thing that I worry about with every sequel to a film, is will it suffer from sequelitis? And what I like to call sequelitis is when a film comes out and it's awesome, and the studios are like, well, we need to repeat this. So they come out with a second film that literally follows the same storyline, and they bring back all the things that you loved from the first one. It's just less about story, more about making a buck and putting people in the seats because they knew what worked the last time, and they just throw it back into the second one. I'm happy to say that is not the case with Chapter 2. The movie does a really good job, actually, with breaking the mold. One of the great things about the first one is that, like I mentioned before, the mythos. I mean, there's this rich history that is in the world of John Wick. And I was really worried that, they were just going to spill the beans and all that. To a certain extent, we went further down the rabbit hole, but we learned that once you get down that rabbit hole, it goes off into 10,000 different directions. So they successfully created a further entry into, the assassins and that world, but they built a richer and deeper mythos that just, you realize, okay, we opened one door, now there's 20 more that they just introduced that need to be opened down the line. So that was a very good job on their part. I loved seeing the characters that did come back from the first one. I don't want to give anything away in that regard if that's important to you. And I also love the new characters they introduced, which are a further deeper part of that world. And I won't get into that too much either. But I will say, for example, Common's character, which you're seeing an image of him now. He was a good antithesis to John Wick in this film. He wasn't a typical villain. It was more of like a dark reflection of John Wick. Like what would have happened if John never left that world. So their fights were incredible. I mean, you felt the tension between the two because you're like, oh man, we're actually seeing someone who's on the level of John coming after him. It wasn't like Perkins in the last one. So that was really, really enjoyable. But again, the action sequences, everything you loved from the first one was increased tenfold. And what I mean by that is it didn't suffer from the sequelitis route where it's just, oh, we have this particular thing that works, let's do it again. No, we had we had it where it's like, oh, John can do this. Let's see what happens when we have his capability of doing this and putting it on a scale of tenfold. And it's amazing. There's a particular scene towards the beginning of the film when he travels to Rome. You'll know what I mean when you go see this film. It's incredible. And when you think it's about to stop, it just keeps going. And, usually when you get to something like that where something just keeps going, it's like, okay, let's get on with it. Not with this one, man. It left me on the edge of my seat, my heart racing the entire time, because it's like every time you think, oh man, he finally, got through what he needed to get through. And I'm being very vague so it doesn't ruin it for you. It just keeps going, and it's just like, it gets wilder and crazier and way more visceral, and it's just awesome. It is so awesome. So I just the action sequences, and I love the story. Let's get into the story now, because I've talked enough about the action sequences. The story is not the same as the first one. There's a moment where you think, oh man, they're just literally going to rehash the first one. But it's literally the movie psyching you out. And it's saying, oh no, that's just the opening sequence. Now let's get into the real story. Psych. I'm like, all right, well done. I thought that was a great nod to what people were worried about with the second film. And I'll talk about more of that in my spoiler edition review. But let's just say this film breaks the mold and it takes John on a completely different journey while not ignoring what happened in the first one. I will put it that way. And it's so beautifully done. So we are introduced to a very unique aspect of John being back in that world. What happens when that vengeance of avenging his wife, from the first film when, Vigo's son kills his dog and steals his car. What happens when that vengeance is gone and John is still in that world? Is he the John Wick of old, or is he the John Wick who just wants to go back home and live the rest of his life in peace? And that is a really, really interesting place to put that character. And let me tell you something. Keanu Reeves, you may say that his best films are Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure, Point Break, or even The Matrix. But let me tell you something. That man was born to play the Baba Yaga. Keanu Reeves has never been more at home with this character. If you thought that he played it beautifully in the first one, increase that exponentially in chapter 2, because you can tell he's just immersed fully in being John Wick, and it's just awesome. Between the heart and soul that he pours into his action sequences that look so real, and that's really hard in today's in today's film with CGI and everything. I mean, some of these action sequences you literally feel like, oh my god, he just broke his bones, or he really did kill that guy. I mean, it's so convincing, and that's a lot based on the cinematography, but at the same time, it's also Keanu Reeves' dedication to those action sequences, and just that signature John Wick look, where it's just, you know, like he goes from being a normal person to the boogeyman. It's so good, and I loved where they took the character in this second film. Now, as far as locations go, the scenery, we go to Roma. Oh, molto bene. I love Italy, and I get that from my mom. Just, you know, the scenes where John is in Rome is just beautiful, and you feel that he is far away and he's in a different area, like a different part of the world, literally and figuratively. So just well done on that part. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I found that I'm becoming more and more skeptic as the years go on. I've gotten so excited about sequels for movies that I love so much, and then I go in and see them and they just break my heart into a million pieces. So when they announced Chapter 2, I was excited beyond belief, because I was like, we're getting a sequel to this. This movie deserves a sequel. But then in the back of my mind, it's like what I mentioned before with the sequelitis. It was like, but will I be let down? And let me assure you folks, you will not be let down with this movie. Oh man. Start to finish, I mean, it's just this heart-racing, epic story, start to finish. And that was the thing. I loved how much I actually cared about the story and how different it was from the first one, like I mentioned. It was so awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna cut it there, because I can tell I'm getting excited, and I don't want to give anything away. So I want you to watch this video, then go see John Wick Chapter 2. It's got me fully on board. 5. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 stars. It topped the first one for me. Let me tell you something. Like I mentioned before, John Wick is one of my favorite movies that have come out in the past decade. So to say that it tops the first one is really saying something as far as it goes for me. Oh man, I can't wait to see it again. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to go see it again, and I want you guys to go and see it immediately. So you will love everything about it, start to finish. So I'm going to cut it there. Go see the film, and then come back and then tell me your thoughts, non-spoiler related, okay? Because I'm going to have a spoiler edition that comes out tomorrow. I don't want to create a possibility of you guys seeing a spoiler edition film before you go see the movie. So the spoiler edition will come out on Saturday. And I'm going to put up a logo that says that now. Saturday. So that gives you a full day to go see the film, and then you can come back and hear my discussion on the actual spoilers of the film, because man, do we have something to talk about there. But John Wick Chapter 2 is out in theaters today. Go see it, guys, please. If you love the first one, even if you haven't even seen the first one, watch the first one, then go see Chapter 2 and do yourself a favor, okay? Last thing I will say, this is an R-rated movie, and we're talking a real rated R. Language, violence, like really over the top, epic, stylistic, but still violence. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for the spoiler-free edition of this movie. Again, John Wick Chapter 2, I loved it so much. It was so good. All the way up to the end, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go see this movie again. That was amazing. So that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Come back for the spoiler edition review. Let me know in the comments section below if you're excited for John Wick Chapter 2, if you've seen the movie or not. Again, please, no spoiler comments, okay? I want to keep this completely spoiler-free. You know, we live in an age where movies are ruined for people before they even get to go see them. So let's keep it spoiler-free, guys. And again, we'll talk spoilers tomorrow. Until then, I am the Bearded Con Man. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And remember, Beard, be exceptional and rad dudes. Go see John Wick Chapter 2 and come back tomorrow. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.